So, do you have a star on your belly? This is a story about two groups of Sneetches, bird-like creatures that live on the beach. One group of Sneetches has a star on their bellies, and so they think they are superior to the group of Sneetches that have plain bellies. In fact, the years of segregation is so bad between the groups that they aren't even allowed to interact with each other. One day, a man named Sylvester McMonkey McBean arrives and promises that he can help the Sneetches with no stars on their bellies, using his machine to add stars on their bellies. Each Sneetch pays him, and after they enter the machine, they have a star on their belly. However, the original Sneetches that had stars on their bellies see this and still don't want to be equals with the old plain-bellied Sneetches. McBean approaches them and says he can fix that with a machine that can remove the stars, so the original star-bellied Sneetches group pays to have their stars removed. This doesn't sit too well with the old plain-bellied Sneetches, and so chaos ensues as Sneetches are quickly entering and exiting both machines. The adding and removing of stars keeps going back and forth until all the Sneetches can't tell who is who, and eventually they run out of money. At that point, McBean packs up his machines and leaves. In the end, the Sneetches come together as a community no matter if stars are on their bellies or not. As always, a lot can be said about this story, but what draws my interest and attention is the idea of how identity is so closely related not to names but to appearance. The Sneetches are nameless and can only identify each other by the outward appearance of a star. And it's this cosmetic symbol that is separating one group from another, ultimately making one group feel superior over the other. But it seems like that's all members of each group have in common, not interests or beliefs, but only the external. This relates to people in our society today and how their identity can be wrapped up in their looks or appearance. The most obvious parallel is discrimination based on race and color, but it goes beyond just that. Ultimately, discrimination doesn't care who individuals are, they only have to pass the external or visual test. Not only is basing our relationships on solely the external dangerous for closed-mindedness, but it's also dangerous to find one's own identity based on the external. Eventually, we all grow older, so what happens when you don't look like you used to when you were 21? For a lot of people, they lose their identity and discover that they really don't know themselves beyond the external. So, let me know what you think about this story in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more Minute Book Reports, and thanks for watching.